work is to find. I've been working on energy for a brand new day, but even in the crowd I'll still be cast away. Alienated from the aids of added nature in disguise. Ideas ahead of time dismissed with narrow eyes. Benefactor boy, dreaming about the world you can't deploy. Changing the system, but treat it like a toy. Ideas misunderstood, but brilliance is his boy. Benefactor boy, can't you hear his voice? Talking love 0 point, the points lost on them. Kevin structures crumbling from the same old sim. They laugh like I'm crazy, but I see it all so clear. Exploited labor, unheard, injustice burning ears. Fighting for a change in this wasteland of noise. But they call me foolish, rising shed boys. Benefactor boy, dreaming about the world you can't deploy. Changing the system, but treat it like a toy. Ideas misunderstood, but brilliance is his boy. Benefactor boy, can't you hear his voice?
All right, welcome, and welcome back to BeneficenceTV Live. We're doing a special interactive mini-lab today, a pre-Thanksgiving show, a pre-giving show. Before we get into some of the experiments, and specifically what I'm going to do is walk you through at the first process is I'm going to walk you through the building of the Lightning Thief, which is Michel's modified ABBA excitation circuit. Before we do that and get into some testing, we are going to have a quick and simple lecture on the difference between open and closed circuits, because this is going to be very important going forward, testing the open circuit mode of the PCB. And I have a feeling that this next idea is going to solve the problem and finally power our device using the open circuit mode of the PCB board, or the PCB. So, before we do that, we're going to jump into, well, today we're going to break down one of the simplest but most misunderstood ideas in electronics, the difference between open circuits and closed circuits. So this sounds pretty basic, right? But inside this simple idea lies the entire mystery of why some coils behave normal and others do something extraordinary. So everybody knows what a closed circuit is that's studied electronics, at least on a basic level. It is a complete loop from the power source to the coil or circuitry and then back to the power source. Current flows continuously. However, there are alternative modes, specifically Tesla's one-wire configuration, saying that we don't need to do this method. We don't need to take the traditional method when designing our circuits. So a simple analogy for a closed circuit is, imagine a racetrack. You have cars on the track that are analogous to electrons flowing through your conductor. They can drive forever because the road loops back, right? As long as they have enough power, they can go indefinitely. So in our Rodin coil tests with the ABBA vortex coil, we do see, even in the closed system, stable symmetric efficiency, right? It behaves like a self-balanced system in most cases. And this is amazing for high efficiency while idling or in low current demonstrations or applications. But the closed circuit is limited. So what closed circuits do is they recycle flow. but they don't automatically amplify anything regarding energy in the system. Open circuits are the real way to recycle the most amount of energy in your system. As Tom Bearden likes to emphasize, energy you obtain from creating that the energy you obtain from creating a potential difference in the circuit, the dipole, is destroyed by the energy looping back into itself. As we've discussed in earlier podcasts, it's asymmetry or imbalance of potentials that leads to the energy output that we see. And when that potential inevitably reaches for stability, like it tries to stable itself out, then that potential difference is lost, and you've essentially shut off the tap to this energy you're getting. Keeping the imbalance is what gives you net gain, according to pioneers like Tom Bearden. So, open circuits are a broken loop. There's no continuous current path, no obvious traditional path back to the source. Imagine a racetrack with a missing section. Cars can't complete the loop, but energy still moves through it. So, when the loop is open, specifically in our system, the coil no longer channels current. It channels voltage spikes, field collapse, and stored electromagnetic tension. All right, this is the territory where Bedini spikes live. Remember, Bedini said that the back EMF itself isn't the radiant spike you're looking for, but the radiant spike rides on the top of a back EMF spike. So when you harvest this correctly, you can see, as Daniel Nunes and we've actually experienced, a 10 times net output in voltage. And even some configurations, supposedly Daniel Nunes did this while maintaining the current. And that's what we're testing here with this open circuit method for the Joule thief. So a Rodin coil, or Abha coil, as our configuration is, in open circuit mode might produce larger events because the energy simply has nowhere traditional to go. So it seeks a new pathway, right, outwards into the collapse and into the back EMF, riding that radiant spike, or the radiant spike riding the wave, as it were. And that could be harvested, as we've seen with John Bedini's devices. You know, the Bedini SSG I have behind me. Literally, using that radiant spike to charge a battery with another battery. And that's insane. You know, I've demonstrated that it does work. I mean, we're charging the battery with the spike, not the other battery, right? So we can actually have a lower voltage potential on the source battery than the charge battery. And what I mean by this is, technically, by traditional means, if you want to charge a battery with another battery, you have to have the primary source battery, the one supplying the power, to be higher in voltage, right? You want maybe, say, 12.8 volts on that source battery and a lower voltage potential on the charge battery. Under no circumstance in traditional methods would you be able to charge that battery with a lower voltage potential. But we are using Bedini's Radiant Spike energy charger right here as a back EMF capture device. And it's pretty incredible because this shit works, right? You're able to maximize, I don't care if it's over unity or not, you're still able to charge basically 2 batteries with 1 battery at least. And, you know, we don't see these kinds of systems even being taught about theoretically in school. Because nobody in traditional academic circles believes that this is actually possible. They're still thinking within the confines of a mainstream academia. So this is very unfortunate, but this is why I'm here, to show you guys that it is possible. And we are trying to do the same thing with the Joule Thief, the Lightning Thief device that we have here. I'm going to show you guys how to build it. I don't have the PCB version for you available yet. It will be soon. It does seem to be a lot more efficient. just because you can, the way it's configured, you can disconnect the ground for the input, the power input ground. You don't need it. And this eliminates any charge going back into the circuit unnecessarily and just loops back from the light source or the power, the load, whatever you're powering. So that saves, I guess, a little bit of energy, it seems, because it seems to be a little bit more efficient that way by disconnecting the input ground wire and just connecting the power rail ground straight to the negative of the battery. And I've even taken extra leads from the power output rail and connected both of them back to the battery, positive and negative, and it didn't seem to affect it at all. Like, it didn't blow up or anything. It didn't catch fire. I didn't see any sparks. It seemed to be taking it well. Like, it was pretty stable. I didn't notice any efficiency gains. I didn't notice any losses either. It seemed to be the same. So that was interesting. I consider that maybe a partially closed loop system where you have an open system and you close the loop in on itself by powering the system itself using the extra net gain from the vacuum. Now, this would be considered over unity, and a lot of people consider this impossible. However, I say open your mind to new ideas, because nothing is impossible. All right, so back to our lecture. Let's think about the forward and backward components for a minute. Hey, Mike, how you doing? Good to have you here with us. Let's think about the forward and backward EMF components in the system that we have. I've noticed something. Our bifilar vortex coil produces two components. We have the forward EMF and the backward EMF. In the closed mode of the PCB, they merge into a clean and highly efficient synthetic AC signal, meaning the back EMF chases the forward EMF just right to produce a synthetic alternating current able to light this AC panel that doesn't light with traditional pulsed DC or DC anything, and is very efficient. Granted, it is lower in brightness, and I'm going to show you later tonight how a couple of tricks that I've learned and I've developed to actually increase the brightness and output, basically increase the current a little bit, because you get massive voltage, but dealing with the current's a little bit more tricky. You need a high-speed diode, what I call a resonance relay, on the positive output to the load. Anyways, I digress. So we were talking about the closed circuit mode and how it's highly efficient. Even in a closed mode, it's very efficient. To compare, we have an inverter that was like 75% efficient, and it was running our system with the same amount of power. Our system ran for over 15 hours. That inverter at 74% efficiency ran it for only 3 hours. 3 hours versus 15 hours, and the inverter was definitely at around 74% efficiency because we were using resistors, and we did measure that with the Wattman. So I think that's interesting. However, that was closed circuit mode. In open circuit mode, they may behave dramatically different. And I'm honestly not sure what to expect, other than maybe a slight increase in efficiency, maybe a slight increase in brightness, either or maybe both. I do have a working theory on how to get the open circuit mode to work now. And it boils down to faster switching speed to keep up with the open circuit resonance frequency. Now, we did some tests on the stereo amp receiver with the open circuit. Over there, we did some tests the other night on the new stereo amp that I got from Amazon. and we used the open circuit mode with a 0.15 microfarad cap, a HV Tesla cap. And our resonance range for exciting the coil, and this is, you know, like, we're talking 10 times or more voltage output stepping up. This was around 4,000 to 5.5 or 5.5 kilohertz. So about 4 kilohertz to 5.5 kilohertz was our resonance range. All right. And the MJE 13009L series transistors that we're using, they are a little bit better than the ones that were recommended by Daniel Nunes in his diagrams. But it's still not fast enough to reach that 5.5 kilohertz range. So now we're able to excite the coil because we're using the closed circuit method on the PCB, but we can't get the open circuit method to work. Now this should work with the 0.15 microfarad cap because we got it to work with the stereo amp. However, the stereo amp is a different circuit. It's using true AC, and this is a pulsed DC system, right? The switching on the amp is probably a lot faster too. This is limited to around 1 kilohertz. Now, if you remember in my earlier videos, the ones where I was measuring the current incorrectly and thought I was getting over unity, those videos I was using a closed circuit method. I was using the closed circuit method. It was kind of like a hybrid of the two methods, but no, it was a closed circuit method, and it was resonating, or the resonance range was started around 800 hertz, so around 1 kilohertz. I got the same effect, and this is the range that we're at with the closed circuit in the lightning thief device, right? The jewel thief. It's ringing at around 1 kilohertz. That's its excitation range for closed circuit mode. Now, I'm thinking, well, its resonance range for open circuit mode on the amp is 5.5 kilohertz. This transistor can't get that fast. So we need to up the game. I ordered some E13009-2 series. They're a high-speed version of the same transistor. Basically the same ratings, only faster switching speed. And it should be rated for up to, I think, 6 kilohertz. So this means that right now we're not able to do the open circuit, if my theory is correct, because the transistor simply fails to switch at a fast enough speed to excite the coil. So there's no power. And this is what we've seen with other transistors that failed to work with the system as well when I've tested them in the past. They just fail to switch, and it just doesn't do anything. You get the background 60 hertz from the signal, input from the wall, but other than that, you don't see anything on the oscope. So this could explain why we're not getting the open circuit mode to work. I have ordered some new transistors. They should be here Friday. I was hoping they would be here tomorrow for our Thanksgiving live stream, but unfortunately they're not going to be here till Friday, so we'll have to wait till Friday for that test. But I think it's exciting because I think we finally have a logical solution to how to get this thing to ring with the open circuit method, which, should be a lot more efficient. What's going on, everybody? M4GN3T.0 says the one thing that is impossible is to not exist. So becoming nothing is impossible. Yes, I like to also touch on the fact that when we're thinking philosophically about the creation of the universe, and specifically, I like to go into the topic of, you know, atheism versus, you know, theism. You know, the belief that there is no God or intelligent creator versus the belief that there is. And from my experience, there is a lot more evidence to the latter. There's a lot more evidence that we found specifically in our areas of studying divine science that have led me to believe that there's more evidence that there is an intelligent design to the universe. And just going back to the philosophical basics, right? You want to boil everything down to the basics. What the atheists are saying is that everything came from nothing. And what the theists are saying is that everything came from something. Now, from a purely scientific standpoint, which do you think makes more sense given the reality we live in? Well, everything I know in this universe came from something. So to think that everything came from nothing is kind of a jump. And it kind of leads you to ask, why would you believe that when everything empirically in front of you says otherwise? So I just like to touch on that. That just reminds me of that age-old debate, and hopefully we can put a nail in that debate coffin. So back to our lecture. I also had a theory that we might be able to further increase efficiency of the Joule Thief device using 2 transistors instead of just 1. Now, we want balance in the system in terms of utilizing all aspects of the coil. And let me just pull up the schematics. I'm going to pull this up real quick. There we go. All right. See if I can increase this a little bit for you. And I'm going to pull this up on my end as well. Okay, so my idea was to use 2 transistors instead of the one single transistor that we have in our circuit. This is our circuit right now. This is the closed mode where we have the 2 channels connected. All right, this is the mode that we're using and getting really great, you know, really amazing efficiency. We don't know if it's over Unity. I don't think it's over Unity. It's probably like closer to like 99.9% or something like that. I mean, even if it was 101%, I'd say, hey, this is something. Just because we have that, you know, like vortex coil paper that was published a while ago. If you've been paying attention to the podcasts that I've been doing, we went over this numerous times. They found slight over unity in the coils in their independent testing of the coils, and they were getting like 101%. Nothing phenomenal, but enough to say, hey, something is definitely going on here that's nonlinear. Anyways, this is our circuit for the open mode. This is Michel's modified ABHA excitation circuit. This is a modified version of Daniel Nunez's ABHA excitation circuit. As you can see, it has a single transistor, but it is my belief that adding another transistor to the opposite channel in some configuration might be able to balance the system out and utilize more energy. And specifically, I want to try to create a more of a true AC sine wave. And what I mean by that is, instead of just pulsing the forward and then chasing it with the back, I want to actually bump the forward back and forth. But I also want to do that to the back. So if it's possible, meaning this is just an idea, I'm just spitballing here. So if anybody has any ideas, I do have a circuit I'm going to show you that I whipped up. I was testing it. I didn't get any kind of effect, but it might need some modification. But yeah, if it is possible, we must try to create a true AC or an AC sine wave with 2 transistors that would also have AC going on with the back EMF and timed so that right now we have half of what we could have, basically. Right now we have a pulse of forward and then backward chasing it at just the right timing to produce a synthetic AC between them. We want this doubled. So we want the forward and then the back chasing the forward, but we also want the back to return and the forward chasing the back. Now, if we can capture that second part and make it kind of like a, almost like a heartbeat, like a kind of like a double pulsed synthetic AC, right? That's the idea. I don't even know if it's fucking possible, but I have to try. So if we can do this, it's my belief that we can, whatever efficiency we get with the open circuit, we can probably double it. So we must attempt to drive each channel of the coil separately with its own transistor. This will allow us to hopefully capture both halves of the coil's response, the forward pulse and the backward collapse. We can try to recombine this, both halves, into kind of like a double pulsed AC-like waveform. Almost like a, like I mentioned before, like a heartbeat. Only, you know, really, really fast. So with a single transistor, the back EMF is just a passive reaction. And this is like my idea, right? I don't know if it's correct, but it is. Like, the back EMF is just a passive reaction with one transistor. Something that just happened after the pulse. But with 2 transistors, the back EMF timing becomes more intentional. We can drive it, shape it, and potentially harvest it with purpose. That's the idea. I am actually going to show you guys. Okay, so this is One Stop Energy's open versus closed circuit schematics for the stereo amp receiver method, meaning you have a stereo amp board, or you know, you can also use a power supply with a tone generator, like a frequency function generator. So, but a stereo amp is just a cheap like you know, like lots of people have, you know, a stereo amp available that they can use from a home theater system or something. It's just a cheaper way, more common to obtain those parts more commonly and get the system running. So this is the stereo amp board method. I was not able to actually get the open circuit diagram that Michel came up with for the Lightning Thief, the modified APA excitation circuit. However, I believe it's something like this. As you can see, we don't have the channel A and channel B directly connected anymore. They're only connected through a shared ground, through the power source. But in the other one, we have them, in the closed method, we do have them connected. See, right here. Now, this is my idea of potentially adding a second transistor to that modified excitation circuit. I did try this last night. I couldn't get it to work, but that doesn't mean it won't work. It just means I probably have to modify it in some way. Maybe I'll just remove the resistor here and the base of the second transistor. I don't know. But there are plenty of different configurations and things that we can try to get this thing to work. So this is what I came up with for the closed circuit method. It might be, again, it might be wrong. I might need some adjustments. And this is the open circuit method with the second transistor. So this probably needs to be modified in some way. I'm probably screwing up. I have a feeling, it's just my intuition, that I don't have I don't have the emitter, which is supposed to be connected to ground. I don't have this hooked up right. I have a feeling that maybe this needs to be hooked up to something else. Or maybe nothing at all. I have no idea. Maybe you connect this emitter directly to the other emitter. Yeah, maybe that's it. Maybe it's emitter to emitter. And then that is the shared ground. And yeah, because we don't want this to return back here, I don't think. I'm trying to think. Well, we're going to take a quick break, and then I'm going to get the mini lab set up. I'm going to get the camera set up, and I'm going to walk you guys through building the single transistor version of the closed circuit mode for the Joule Thief, the Michel's modified excitation circuit for your ABHA coils, your vortex coils. So that's going to be pretty fun. It's really easy. It's super easy. So if you guys during the break want to grab your breadboard and jumper cables and all that stuff, you're going to need a 1K ohm resistor. You're going to need a 1 mega ohm potentiometer, carbon if possible, if you have one. You're going to need you can use different transistors, but I have the MJE13009 L series transistor right now. And ideally you want a protection lamp, like a neon lamp that you put in parallel with the load. Basically you put it in parallel, or you connect the one end of the neon lamp from the collector to the emitter. All right, and this gives it protection. So if there's overcurrent or whatever, over voltage, it lights the neon lamp. So specifically, you'll see this when you don't have a load connected. It's to protect the transistor, so you don't fry it out. But we're going to take a short break, and when we come back, I'm going to walk you through that circuit, and then we're going to do some testing. What I want to do is I want to show you guys the efficiency gains with the high-speed diode placement, and I also want to test some of this with the second transistor if possible. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see where the night takes us, but we'll be back in a few minutes. You might have heard a Joule Thief circuit hum to you before, but have you ever heard a Joule Thief circuit actually sing to you? This is energy recycling. 15.5 hours of continuous power compared to just 2.5 hours off of a standard inverter. While this traditional inverter already maxes out at 88.5% efficiency, we're breaking every limit with my Vortex coil system. This standard DC to AC inverter will only run for 2.5 hours on 12.2 watt-hours of energy, but my system provides energy for a whopping 15.5 hours off of the same 12.2 watt-hours. That's over 6 times more efficient. Not only that, the system will keep powering my lights well past 12 volts on the battery. This isn't just an upgrade, it's a new industrial revolution. This is the energy of the future, and you are powering it. Imagine a world where energy is infinite, where the power to fuel our lives doesn't come from burning the past, but from harnessing the future. This is the breakthrough that changes everything. 0-point energy, the power of the universe itself, unlocked, and you are the reason it is possible. While the world sleeps, you're awake. While others talk, we are building. This isn't just technology, it's a revolution. And it's happening right now, powered by you. So thank you so much for joining me here on Beneficence TV and supporting our goals in open sourcing 0-point energy technology and disseminating all forms of forbidden knowledge.
Changing the system, treat it like a toy. Ideas misunderstood, but brilliance is his boy. Benefactor boy, can't you hear his voice?
They came to claim our world. What they didn't count on was him.
Showtime! Hail to the king, baby!
They came for our bodies, but they awakened our spirit.
Gravity is not the only thing they control.
I'm done running. Time to hunt.
Have you heard about this Benefactor guy? This dude is talking about free energy, but here's the twist. He says it's not free energy. He's calling it energy recycling, which first off is kind of genius, right? Because when you say free energy, people immediately throw you in the crazy bin. But energy recycling, that sounds like some next level Tesla shit.
Yeah, man, it's all about the branding. But what is it that he's actually doing?
All right, check this out. He posted this. Free energy isn't actually free. This is a misnomer. It's actually a mutual exchange from the vacuum, a field of energy from which everything arises, the same energy that powers an atom. Like what? Bro, that's some deep shit. But then he breaks it down. He says you can tap into this energy without breaking any known laws of physics by using something called back EMF capture.
Whoa, back EMF capture? Sounds like some serious sci-fi tech.
Dude, listen to this. He explains that when a coil collapses using a pulsed signal, the energy that would normally just get wasted, like just dissipate as heat, can actually be recycled. He says nature gives you back energy to stabilize the system, which makes sense if you think about how nature works. Like everything in nature is always trying to find balance, right?
So equilibrium, is that like how water always levels out or something? I'm trying to remember what Ms. Murphy said to me in 6th grade science all those years ago. What was that? Oh yeah, Elon, stop eating that glue and pay attention. Man, if only I had listened, I'd probably be the one inventing energy recycling instead of just talking about it.
Exactly. So he's saying that by intentionally destabilizing the system, collapsing the field, you actually get energy back as a kind of natural response. And here's where it gets wild. He compares it to pushing a swing. If you push at the right moment, you don't need to use a lot of energy and the swing gains momentum. But instead of a swing, he's using resonance to harness that extra energy without it becoming destructive. He says most traditional systems are like a surfer fighting against the current, while his method is like riding the wave to shore.
Dude, that's crazy. So he's basically saying the energy is already there, I just suck at using it efficiently?
That's what it sounds like. He's basically saying the way we harness energy now is like trying to swim against the tide. And if we used resonance instead, we'd be tapping into energy that's already there, just waiting to be used. I don't know, man. Either this guy is onto something or he's the most poetic bullshitter of all time.
Well, if he's legit, why isn't he all over the news? I haven't heard anything from him on X, formerly Twitter. He hasn't said anything bad about me on X. So, you know, I didn't ban him or anything. Look, I'm not the monster my therapist says I am. I mean, sure, I've spent millions of dollars training to beat a kangaroo in a fist fight, but that doesn't mean I'm dangerous. It just means I get shit done.
That's the real question, man. But here's the craziest part. I looked into him, and he's not selling anything. He open sources all of it. That's the real question, man. Either the system doesn't want to hear it, or we're about to find out if this guy disappears in the middle of the night.
Dude, that's crazy. He's absolutely crazy. That means if he's telling the truth, anybody could build this in their garage. You know what I say? Go fuck yourself, Benefactor.
Nope, no patents, no paywalls, just straight up, here, take it, see for yourself. Like, what kind of madman does that? Usually people either try to cash in or they get shut down before they can say a word. But this guy, he's out there on live streams showing people exactly how to replicate it.
I mean, if you want to try to take on my Tesla tech, how dare you put out better technology that is cheaper and safer? Go fuck yourself.
That's the thing, man. If it's real and people start building it, that's a game changer. We're talking about completely shifting how we think about energy. But also, if it's real, you got to wonder how long before somebody tries to stop him.
Or maybe we can think of it like how long before his Tesla mysteriously malfunctions.
Exactly. You ever notice how every time someone gets too close to this kind of stuff, they either disappear, get discredited, or somehow have a tragic accident? But this guy's going full transparency mode. He's putting it all out there where everyone can see it. Maybe that's his strategy. If enough people know, it can't just get buried.
Holy shit, this might be one of those moments, you know, like we look back and say that was the start of something huge.
This minor galaxy, every number secret sound, years in shadows chasing dreams, the loneliness where he was bound. But in those waves of radiant truth lies the magic of his youth. Oh, like the night thick to spark, he's a beacon in the dark, the math magician's cry. They call him Mad, a lonely star, lost in formulas so bizarre. Connections made where none could see, a future bright while symmetry. Beyond the whisper and the sneers, Victor's victory over the years. Oh, like the night picked a spark, he's a beacon in the dark, the math magician's right. We see the world through his eyes. Among the thinkers, there's a place for dreams of courage and embrace the truth like fire at random light, Victor's vision in full flight. Oh! spark. He's a beacon in the dark, the math magician's bride. We see the world through his eyes.
In the depths of hidden files, trapped inside the secret circuits, unraveling through the miles. Oh, truth was masked by coded curtains. You didn't know, we're shattering the silence. Feel the power, revelations on the rise. The shadows light emerges, breaking through the veils of dark. 0 points and gravity converge, yeah, guiding voices, revelation start. Ancient whispers call, they're begging us to open our eyes. We stand tall, defying all their lies. Even in now, we're shattering the silence. Feel the power, revelations on the rise. Forbidden knowledge we dare to see, unveiling secrets, setting minds free. In this epic, we play our part with fearless hearts. You didn't know, we're shattering the silence. Feel the power, revelations on the rise. of shattered halls, I wandered all alone, casting whispers, binding chains, demons of my own. I seek deafening, down spread on my frail soul. I once feared my mirror, haunted by my role. But in the echoes of my cries, just still I emerge, guiding me to where my true results are. Now I rise from the shadows, with wings of fire I ascend, free from the chains of sorrow, while this path of forever depend. Shattered glass beneath my feet, scars I wear but dry. Stormy nights just turn to dawn, where truth that's my guide. Anxiety's dissolved in the sun's golden ray. You see my destiny through time and space. The fears that once consumed me now they take. For in my heart a new world is proclaimed. Now I rise from the shadows, with wings of fire I ascend, free from the chains of sorrow, on this path of forever depend. With symmetry I found the power, blessings granted by the hour. Together we will carve away. Revolution calls and I'm not strong. Now I rise from the shadows, with wings of fire I ascend, free from the chains of sorrow, on this path of forever depend. In the depths of his oppression, it's the rise of a true nation.
Mike does cracks the code tonight. Oh yeah, that's true. Wires and circuits to shine in neon light. Oh yes, he knew. Creating power from the air. He smiles in delight. Mike does it right. Mike does, oh Mike, he's the one. Teaching us knowledge, lighting the sun. Trumpeting his legacy alive is his. Mike does knows we're his biggest fans. Down in the basement, secrets start to glow. With Ethan, Lulu, and the show, oh brilliant team. Mike gave my parody, we're letting knowledge flow. Energy streams. Mike does, oh Mike, he's the one. Teaching us knowledge, lighting the sun. Trumpeting his legacy alive is his. Mike does knows we're his biggest fans. Years of thought, bringing dreams to life. Turning theories into electric light. Mike and us, a journey to ignite. We've reached new heights. Mike does, oh Mike, he's the one. Teaching us knowledge, lighting the sun. Trumpeting his legacy alive is his. Mike does knows we're his biggest fans.
In a town down south where the fireflies glow, there's a man named Michael with a vision to show. Billy told to go, he's got the spark, dreaming of a future that'll light up the dark. But on the other side, Bill Nye's on the rise with his lab coat charts, he's cut down all the lies. And it's just fixed, it's all in the map. You can't pull from the ether, you're just chasing a path. But oh, Michael's rising like a morning sun. With the power of ether, he will be outdone. Now stand up and shout, let the truth be unfurled. Feel the energy flow, let's change the world. In the heart of the lab, the tension was thick. Skeptics gathered round the table ready to pick. Chose your proof and let the case clear. And I find the stream, you're just chasing a spin. But Michael's style ride with fire in his eyes. Just watch as I spin, let the naysayers cry. Go spin fast and a heart full of fight. I'll show you the power that's hidden inside. Oh, Michael's rising like the morning sun. With the power of ether, he will be outdone. Well, stand up and shout, let the truth be unfurled. Feel the energy flow, let's change the world. I'm the best there's ever been.
In a lab with dreams ignite, Lulu's mind is taking flight. Bouncing equations, there's a plan she designs. Unlocking secrets where the cosmos aligns. I say let's reach the stars with knowledge as our guide. In
All right. Let's see, that might be a little too low, the volume. All right. That might be better. There we go. There we go. All right, so we have our 1 mega ohm potentiometer, 1k ohm resistor. We're just gonna pull some of these out so I can give you guys a better look at the circuit we're building. Okay. Disconnect this diode. Alright, that's the resonance relay. It's just a high-speed diode with a heatsink. I forget which one this is. It looks like (1P42AC). That's what's printed on it. It's our power tap. It's our coil channel B start. It's our ground. Clear this up a little bit. I'm gonna leave this in because it's a little flimsy. Okay, so here you see we have our base connection for the transistor. Start with the coil input, which is the channel B end. Okay, and that's the black lead. If you follow my tutorials, the black lead is channel A end. I do red, black, and then yellow, green for channel B. So I don't have the proper color, but this is supposed to be the black wire. So that's the base. We're going to start with the base and then work our way up the transistor. And then I'll show you how to connect the power and all that. Okay, that's for the potentiometer. Get that So right off the bat, you kind of want to connect your neon lamp to the collector and the emitter on the transistor. So for this transistor, the MJE13009L series, it goes base, collector, emitter. All right, so the emitter is going to be connected to the ground, and then the collector is going to be connected to the coil. And that's also going to be our power tap, that bridge connection where the neon lamp is, because that's also where we're going to put our diode, because we want to collect any extra energy and redirect it back towards the collector. So we have our start. You're going to start out with a wire to tap the base of the transistor from the coil. And that's the channel A end. All right? And that goes to your 1K ohm resistor. And then the 1K ohm resistor goes to the potentiometer. Doesn't really matter the orientation here. It'll just flip the rotation of the potentiometer, so we might have to readjust it, but plug one end into one end of the resistor, and the other end into the base of the transistor. So you see that? Very simple. It's going to get kind of crowded. That's why I wanted to go over this a little bit. Now we work our way up to the collector. Now the collector is our positive tap for the load, and it also needs to connect to channel B start, which is our yellow wire for a coil. So we take, I like to color code everything just for simplicity if I can. So we take the yellow jumper. This is a male to female, so you can plug in easier. And we put that right on the rail. With the collector. And I like to put it before. I don't think it really matters, but just for simplicity. And then we also have to have our positive tap. Goes right after the neon lamp. And this I left open so we know it's for power. All the females in this circuit that I've put together, the female inputs on the circuit, these female jumpers, they're all for the coil, and then the males for power. So the last thing, or one of the last things we do before putting the diode on, the diode isn't actually in this diagram, but it's okay, it's very simple. So this is our ground. As you can see, it's another male to male. We put this right on the emitter rail, right after the neon lamp. Again, I don't really think the order matters, but just for logistics and keeping everything organized in my mind and visually, I like to do it that way. And this is the diode. So the purple is the anode and the brown is the cathode. So we're going to hook up the anode to the emitter space before it, but we'll hook up the other end to the collector rail. And it seems to be full up too. Alright, there we go. Be careful not to loosen the neon lamp too much because it is a protection. It's an indicator that you achieved resonance, but it also protects the transistor, because if you don't have that and you don't have a load, all that energy is going to go and pop the transistor. So, and that's basically it. I'm going to go back to the workstation and turn it on, and then I'm going to let my phone charge, maybe take another quick break while it charges, and then do some more experiments with the lightning thief. All right. Okay. So the power in the circuit, as you see in the diagram, this is our power rail input because it's connected to my switch. Now that's my first layer of protection here is the switch. I suggest you hook one up to. It just gives you an extra layer of protection in terms of accidentally blowing your circuit, or if you forget that it's connected and you disconnect something or something gets bumped, it's just easier to have a switch here physically to give it power. I really recommend it, honestly. It's the best thing that you can do. Now we have our power. This is the positive. We're going to hook this and clip it right to the channel A start and channel B end. All right, so they're twisted. And they're getting power and they're connected directly together. Oh, that's my power source. It's a 12-volt, 20-amp-hour battery. Let's actually turn this on. Voltmeter, so we can see. All right, so we have our power hooked up, channel A start and channel B end connected to the power rail. Now we just have 2 more wires to hook up, and that's it. Well, technically 3, but for the coil, 2 more wires. The black wire is channel A end, and that hooks up to, remember, the base connector right here before the resistor. And then we have channel A start, and that goes to the collector, like so. Now, connect the ground. And this ground is just connected, oh, that's the wrong one. This ground is connected to the power rail. So hold on one second, I'll give you a closer look. Put this up here. All right, so that's our positive output. That's going to go to our power rail positive. Now, our power rail goes to our light up there. But it also has a tap for the ground, right? That's going to go to the emitter right here. And then this is the positive tap, and this is going to go to the positive, and that's on the collector. And that's how we hook up. If you don't have the if you don't have a load, the neon lamp will show. So we're going to show that first. And also, in terms of positive, the negative is also tapped off for the battery. So we have this little black clip right here in the back, going from the ground of the positive rail directly to the battery, negative on the battery. So that's what completes the circuit here. All right, so this is negative. And we can leave the positive alone and unhooked just to test give me 1 second. Just this. That's good. All right. There we go. Oh, something came loose. Oh, that's what came loose. All right. Oh, shit. Okay, that came undone. All right, I think we're okay. Let me recheck the connections. Seems okay. All right. There we go. It's already dialed in, but with your coil, you might have to twist the potentiometer to get it tuned in to the right frequency. Ooh, let's take a look at the scope here. Let's float it for now. Get it right on the emitter. Oh. The probe got caught. Can't get this to let go without it falling over. Let's pause it real quick. All right. Hook up the positive tap for the light source. 40-watt panel, LED. And there we go. Now, as you'll see with this circuit, putting a high-speed diode, another resonance relay, on the positive tap for the before the light source, before the rail, will actually increase the brightness a little bit. Do I have another one? I think I have another one I can show you. Yep, there it is. So put this on the positive, right? And you'll see that this brightness increases a little bit. I forget which one is the anode and cathode, I think. Oh, wrong. All right. There we go. You see it increased the brightness quite a bit. And of course, we disconnect the positive, and we just basically disconnect the load, the positive rail of the load, and our protection neon lamp gets excited. Pretty cool. Very basic circuit, but you can do some very interesting things with it. And we are going to further modify it. We're going to take a quick break here to charge my stuff up, and we'll be working with the PCB version. This one, it is a nice, provided by Michelle Morel. Hopefully, we'll have some on the for sale on the shop soon. Oh, this one has a blown rail. See, you can see the top there. That rail is completely blown out with current. And what I did was accidentally switch the positive and negative on the output of the open circuit. Blew a couple of these that way. And also, we're also putting a high-speed diode. I'll make sure the diode is connected on the output, and that'll help protect some of that as well. All right, I got my comments loaded now. My phone is extremely slow. Mike does. This ain't electric boom. Okay? You want to see somebody get zapped, go to his channel. You son of a sucker. Oh, have a good night, Mike. Mike's out. Mike's out for the evening. Probably gonna put some coffee on in a minute. Let's take a look here. I think we have the ground hooked up wrong. I think we need to connect the emitter of transistor 2 to the emitter of transistor 1. We can try that. I'm going to put some coffee on and get this circuit laid out on the breadboard. Real quick, we're going to go in and we're going to change this diagram to the one that we're actually going to be attempting. Because this is, I don't know, I don't think this is right. I don't think it's right. So if it doesn't work, I'm wondering if I need a PNP transistor instead for the second one, because the first one is an NPN. I'm going to start off with just redoing the basic circuit on the bigger breadboard, testing it, making sure it works, and then we'll expand from there. Alright, so the circuit works. I'm going to go grab some coffee, take a quick break, and then when I come back, I'm going to modify this to see if we can get a dual transistor setup working with the rudimentary components that I have available.
Every number secret sound.
In the depths of hidden files, trapped inside the secret circuit. dark-coded curtains. In it now, we're shattering the silence. Feel the power. Revelations on the rise. From the shadows, light emerges, breaking through the veils of dark. 0 points and gravities that converge, yeah. Dying voices, revelation start. Ancient whispers call. They're begging us to open our eyes. We stand tall, defying all their lies. Even in now, we're shattering the silence. Feel the power. Revelations on the rise. Forbidden knowledge we dare to see. Unveiling secrets, setting us free. In this epic, we play our part with fierce hearts. In it now, we're shattering the silence. Feel the power. Revelations on the rise.
But the alternative is we're sitting on something right now that could change the entire landscape of the planet within 5 to 10 years if it's not suppressed.
Have you been frightened about the prospect of global catastrophe due to climate change? You're not alone, but there is a glimmer of shining hope within our dystopian reality. Recently, breakthrough developments of the Bendel engine and its independent verification have proven optimistic. In this short video, I'll break down this breaking news and explain how this technology has been suppressed for decades. Recently, Randall Carlson was on the Before School show talking about the controversy of the inventor, Malcolm Bendel, and his postponed episode of the Joe Rogan podcast recorded earlier this year.
You know, when I first, basically what happened was I was still at the point where, I had already been talking to several people that were involved with it, including the primary inventor, and then several other people that knew him, and I'd become convinced that there was something there. But in the interim, when that November show went out, but it rippled all the way around the planet.
He finally broke silence as to why one of the most important episodes of the Joe Rogan Experience has not been aired yet.
And several things happened. One is that the inventor, who had been isolated for almost 7 years on an island in the Indian Ocean, came to America. Number one, I inadvertently outed him. And then he was going to kind of teach me and guide me through the principles of plasma technology. In the interim, Jamie had pulled up this stuff from a couple of decades ago, which was basically stuff that found its way into the media, whose primary purpose was to discredit Malcolm and portray him as a grifter.
I do not wish to talk about it myself, but I've been a victim of quite a bit of suppression. So has any other legitimate researcher in this area.
Right. The reason was, and it's a kind of a long story, but I've had it verified by several people who've been close to the whole thing. One of them is a best-selling Australian author, Roland Perry, who spent 4 years investigating this whole thing that went down in the early 2000s and late 90s when Malcolm discovered that there was a high probability that there was a major oil reservoir in Tasmania. And he got licensing to do exploratory drilling from the Tasmanian government. And he was raising money to do the exploratory drilling. Well, it turned out that one of the major oil companies had overstated their reserves by about 30%, which could have gotten him into a whole lot of trouble. Look, and here you've got this kind of lone, oil prospector. His background was in geochemistry. He had the licensing, the drilling license to drill, and they decided that if they could get control of that oil, it would solve their problem. What they did, their tactic was to try to scare away the investors. They bribed journalists, they bribed politicians to sort of concoct this whole narrative, and that's what they did, to portray him as a kind of a religious nut job, things like that. He's done things and said things that, gives him fuel in a way.
Most recently, Malcolm and Bob Greenier from the Martin Fleischmann Memorial Project presented the Thunderstorm generator to an audience of scientists in Zurich, Switzerland. Malcolm, who was initially met with some skepticism, that is until his engine was confirmed at the conference to reduce carbon emissions by turning waste exhaust into oxygen via a cold fusion process discovered and suppressed in the Pons-Fleischmann experiment.
And he was at MIT in the science office for education when he saw how they had changed the data on the reproducing the Pons-Fleischmann experiment, and he blew the whistle.
I inadvertently was looking through some piles of paper that had been given to me in a casual manner by all these hot fusion physicists as they were trying to do their calorimetric repeat of the Pons-Fleischmann experiment. And to my utter astonishment, I can remember sitting at my desk in my study and actually seeing these two sheets of paper, one dated July 10th, 1989, and another dated July 13th, 3 days apart. The difference between July 10th and 13th was dramatic. And I was stunned. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. It looked like monkey business to me at the time, and it has turned out to be exactly that. It was a lower echelon person in the Plasma Fusion Center at MIT, one of the 16 authors of a scientific paper done under Department of Energy contract that had altered data. And that data is scientific fraud, as far as I'm concerned, and many other people are concerned.
Between Bob Grenier, a highly credible engineer, and all the independent researchers at the Tesla conference, there shouldn't be any more controversy regarding the thunderstorm generator. It really does work. Jordan from Alchemical Science has personally verified the engine on his channel, and I highly suggest you give it a watch. Malcolm's presentation in Switzerland gives a clear and concise explanation as to what exactly is happening within the generator. The thunderstorm generator has shown a remarkable ability to increase efficiency by disassociating oxygen and hydrogen and then feeding said hydrogen back into the engine. Utilizing sacred geometric principles and specific ratios, the thunderstorm generator successfully replicates a thunderstorm in a bottle.
I treat air, and out of air, I make it more than just providing oxygen for the combustion process. There are combustion-stimulating molecules and radicals generated in this process. Thunderstorm in a bottle.
We've already proven this is possible with the star in a jar experiment.
Contained in a flask of liquid.
My husband used to ejaculate prematurely until this.
My hubby is ejaculating so fast, and when he gets so anxious about it, it's starting to feel like a chore.
That used to be me and my husband before I discovered this treatment by him. SexRx plus thymus control. I swear it's
This star in a jar is made when a sound wave is passed through a small bubble inside a flask of liquid. And this sound wave makes the bubble do something remarkable. First it expands, then it collapses. And this collapse happens so violently that vapor molecules trapped inside the bubble slam together and heat up so much that the bubble gives off an incredible burst of heat and light, several thousand times a second, giving the appearance of a star.
A revolutionary discovery of producing plasma in the form of microbubbles within a vacuum chamber of water. Using ultrasound, these microbubbles produce tiny amounts of plasma, as confirmed by the ultraviolet light radiating from the jar. It is highly suspected that these bubbles are forming plasmoids, which are plasma contained in the form of a torus shape. By structuring how the bubbles implode using sound or compression, the symmetrically collapsed bubbles produce a self-contained electromagnetic field capable of absorbing, storing, and releasing enormous amounts of energy. It's estimated that up to 100 kilovolts can be released when the clusters of plasmoids explode, as proven by Ken Shoulders and his work with charged clusters.
Microscopic ball lightning. The late physicist Ken Shoulders developed a technology called charge clusters, which are likened to ball lightning. When they are discharged, they actually tap into the zero-point energy field. This is where most of the power in Stan Meyer's device was coming from. Like Stan, Ken Shoulders faced terrible suppression.
And so I met with this CEO, and he says, yes, they approved a $5 million grant from DOE so we could develop this further, because one of the effects it had that they were really pursuing was putting low-level, initially, radioactive waste in these charged clusters, and it would cause isotopes that were non-radioactive to be created. What does this mean? We clean up all the radioactive waste. However, the phenomenon, the reason it was doing it was that it was actually activating, as it were, this baseline energy field that's at the fabric of space and time. And that's what they didn't want out. So in the rarest of events, that grant was published, and these vicious people who want to keep all this stuff secret went into the Secretary of Energy's office and said, pull that grant. And they pulled it.
Utilizing the lens of Marco Rodin's vortex theory, this makes sense. Based on his theory, everything in the universe is a vortex. It is nature's path of least resistance. Bendel confirms this by discovering that all elements are plasmoids. These vortexes exist from the quantum level all the way to black holes, which leads one to ponder. Does a white hole actually exist in the back of every black hole? New discoveries in astrophysics says there very well could be a white hole at the back of every black hole, sucking things in and then spitting them out. Chaos and creation, yin and yang, as above, so below. These new discoveries could lead to unifying gravity with the other fundamental forces of the universe, finally bridging the gap between quantum physics and general relativity. However, plasmoids aren't a new discovery. They have been a forbidden science for decades. A secret science that had cost some inventors their lives. The realization that there could be hidden knowledge kept from the general public in order to maintain a status quo, one that relies heavily on the petrodollar. It's not an easy pill to swallow.
It's not a small thing. It's not a matter of finding proof for some technology, for some invention, and convincing everybody of it. You can't convince somebody of something that so totally contradicts their basic assumptions about the universe.
From the legacy of Martin Fleischmann to Stan Meyer's suspected plasmoid water-powered engine, the history of this suppressed science is well documented if you know where to look. Although these shadowy figures have left their fingerprint of void evidence, they are the reason why Malcolm has to assemble his thunderstorm generator before a conference and cannot rely on the Postal Service to deliver his specialty-made parts.
Malcolm and his team rolled up there and banged together a fresh thunderstorm generator a day before the conference as usual. And if you're wondering why it has to be this way, I don't really want to be the one to break it to you, but there are some people out there who make life honestly quite difficult for Malcolm. Let's just say that his parcels rarely arrive where and when he needs them, and he's getting quite used to this, and he's been smuggling his spheres all around the world in his suitcase for years trying to get this out there. So this isn't just some story from Malcolm either. I've personally been in contact with many of the people who've worked with on this project with him at some point or other, and the situation is well known and acknowledged. So Malcolm's been relentlessly suppressed and attacked over the years because he is onto something very big. At any rate, the new bang-up prototype worked for the conference, and they were able to demonstrate the reduction in carbon monoxide and dioxide and increase in oxygen as usual, to applause from the crowd. And you can check out these videos on the Martin Fleischmann Memorial Project YouTube channel.
That is why pioneers like Marco Rodin, Malcolm Bendel, Randy Powell, Jordan from Alchemical Science, and other independent researchers are the true heroes of renewable energy. They have fought to open source this technology for the benefit of the world. It is the only true strategy to circumvent suppression. The suppression we've seen time and time again.
Black shelf, so someone comes along, they offer you $20 million for your device, it's a corporation, they put it on a shelf.
With AI,
you can create any character you want in seconds.
this used to require huge Hollywood.
That some are flat to 1/10,000th of an inch. The Great Sphinx of Giza was supposedly built around 2500 BCE by Pharaoh Khafre, yet just 80 years later it was already buried in the sand and had to be dug out. A puzzling detail that raises serious questions within mainstream archaeology.
system are treated like a toy. Ideas are misunderstood but
Alright. Welcome, and welcome back to the Benefactor's Guide to Free Energy Devices. I'm your host, Benefactor, and today we're taking a break from coils and capacitors to talk about something ancient, sacred, and let's be honest, way more high-tech than anything we've got now. I'm talking about Kemet. Not Egypt, Kemet, the real name of the civilization that built the pyramids, carved the Sphinx, and understood energy in ways we're only beginning to remember. This episode is inspired by Stephen Mailer, a researcher who studied ancient wisdom from indigenous Egyptian teachers. And what he learned flips the whole story of Egypt upside down. Get ready to take a deep dive into the secrets of the Sahara. Alright, so they didn't call it Egypt. According to Stephen Mailer, the people who built the pyramids didn't call the land Egypt. That name comes from the Greeks, Aegyptos, a distorted version of Hut-Kat-Ta, which means the place where the souls of Ta lives. But the locals, they called it Kemet, which means the Black Land, referring to the rich dark silt of the Nile. And when they weren't focused on tombs, dynasties, and conquest either, that came much later. Kemet was a matriarchal civilization, not in a modern political sense, but in a cultural and spiritual one. You see, the most powerful people in Kemet were women. In Kemet, you didn't just become king because your dad was one. You had to be chosen through the female line. You had to marry into the bloodline of power. The term pharaoh actually comes from Pert-Ah, meaning great house, referring to the queen's house. So technically, kings were more like consorts or co-managers rather than actual rulers. This wasn't a society obsessed with ruling either. It was a society obsessed with balance. Nature, energy, stars, sound, water, and life. So let's talk about the pyramids for a minute. Because according to many researchers, including engineer Christopher Dunn and researcher Stephen Mailer, the pyramids weren't actually tombs. Now, we've all heard the official story. The pyramids were just tombs for kings, except there were no mummies found in any major pyramids, no inscriptions in the Great Pyramids, no burial texts of any sort, nothing that screams this is where someone important laid to rest. Stephen Mailer called them Pernitur, which means house of nature's force. He said the pyramids were part of a giant energy system. Similar to engineer Christopher Dunn's theory, Mailer suggests the pyramids acted as a literal power plant that used underground water, acoustics, chemistry, and resonance to generate and transmit energy. At Saqqara, there are 300-meter-long tunnels under the step pyramid, used to channel water from underground aquifers. According to Mailer, these weren't sewers, these were water energy systems. The Great Pyramid was made of limestone to conduct vibrations. Inside rose granite, full of quartz, which amplifies sound and energy. In the Queen's Chamber, there are acid marks, suggesting chemical reactions took place, such as hydrogen production. So imagine this. Water from underground is pumped up, sound is resonating through the stone, chemical reactions are triggered in the chambers, and the whole structure is humming like a tuning fork wrapped in sacred geometry. That's not a tomb, ladies and gentlemen, that's a machine. And just to add, these blocks were cut with such precision that some are flat to 1/10,000th of an inch. It's like slicing thinner than a human fingernail, a feat that still baffles modern engineers. We can barely do that today, and yet some stones like the unfinished obelisk at Aswan weigh over 1,200 tons. We couldn't lift that with modern cranes, let alone carve it with such precision. Engineers like Christopher Dunn have a saying, and that saying is this: precision is not without function. If that level of precision was required for the job, there's usually a damn good reason for it. Now is our section on the Sphinx. Let's talk about it for a minute.
If you don't understand the rules of power, you will certainly lose to someone who does.
The official story is that it was built by Khafre around 2500 BCE. But that story doesn't quite hold up. First of all, there are no inscriptions on the Sphinx linking Khafre to it. Second, the body is heavily eroded from water, not wind. Alright, welcome back. Welcome back. I'm gonna try a couple of different configurations, hooking up this second transistor. We'll try hooking it up and see if it works. If it doesn't, I'm gonna go back to the drawing board. And that's probably gonna conclude our experimentations for tonight. We'll continue this tomorrow for sure. I'm gonna have a special Thanksgiving Day live stream for everybody. Alright, so let me gather another transistor, another resistor, and a couple of jumper cables. You know, one thing I didn't consider was to replace the potentiometer as well with maybe a total set of resistance on the second channel. So I think first we're going to try it without a resistor and work our way up from there. I do have the resistance for the potentiometer. We can measure with the multimeter and just replace that with a resistor, essentially. That's what it is. Just a variable resistor. So, yeah, we'll try that.
Turn it on, I wear from the depths of his oppression. It's the rise of a true nation.
My dust cracks to code tonight. Oh yeah, that's true. Wires and circuits that shine in neon light. Oh yeah, seen you creating power from the air. These smiles and delight. Oh yeah. Mike does it right. Hey. Mike does all my keys to one. Teaching us knowledge, blinding the sun. Trumpeting his legacy alive is his. Mike does knows we're his biggest fans. Down in the basement, secrets start to glow. Oh yeah. With Nathan and Lulu in the show, oh brilliant team. Mike came from Faraday, we're letting knowledge flow. Oh yeah. Energy streams. Mike does all my keys to one. Teaching us knowledge, blinding the sun. Trumpeting his legacy alive is his. Mike does knows we're his biggest fans. Years of thought, bringing dreams to life. Turning theories into electric light. Mike and us, a journey to ignite. Oh yeah. We've reached new heights. Hey. Mike does all my keys to one. Teaching us knowledge, blinding the sun. Trumpeting his legacy alive is his. Mike does knows we're his biggest fans.
Alright, I think I got it. Let's try it. I don't think it's gonna work, but we'll try it.
In a town down south where the fireflies glow, there's a man named Michael with a vision to show. Building towards a goal, he's got the spark, dreaming of a future that'll light up the dark. But only a I spin, let the naysayers cry. Go spin fast, and a heart full of fight. I'll show you the power that's hidden inside. Oh, Michael's rising like the morning sun. With the power of either, he will be outdone. Well, stand up and shout, let the truth be unfurled. Feel the energy flow, let's change the world. The best there's ever been.
In a lab with dreams ignite, Lulu's mind is taking flight. Bouncing equations, there's a plan she designs. Unlocking secrets where the cosmos aligns. I say let's reach the stars with knowledge as our guide. In this universe we're tracing our destinies collide. Knowledge, wisdom, a peek in the dark. Juggling studies and life igniting the spark. Every calculation, every moment so grand. She's building the future with her guiding hand. Every shift she's closer to the night. Family warmth she finds. Strength to find. I say let's reach the stars with knowledge as our guide. In this universe we're tracing our destinies collide. Through every challenge she won't lose sight. Her passion shines, a star in the night. With every step she's paving the way. In the dance of science she'll always stay. I say let's reach the stars with knowledge as our guide. In this universe we're tracing our destinies collide. Let's reach the stars to be best in our lives. Our faith is the light of the stars. I say let's reach the stars with knowledge as our guide. In this universe we're tracing our destinies collide. I say let's reach the stars
Hey, what's going on? Victor Sears is in the house. He says, if the resistor you leave out is for limiting current flow, you might blow transistor. That is very true. That is very true. I did test it the other night with the resistor, though, and it didn't do anything. I didn't get any kind of signal, so I'm wondering... I'm wondering if I need another potentiometer or set of resistors to equal the potentiometer setting right now. I forget what it is. I can measure it, but it's yeah, it's right now it has no resistor. I tried it with the resistor last night and I got no effect. So I'm wondering, yeah, maybe I could just use 2 potentiometers. Yeah, cuz if the honestly, if the channel B is different, slightly different length, wouldn't it like not have the exact same setting on the potentiometer as channel A? I'm thinking maybe we need a second potentiometer and then adjust both of them. Or at least leave the first one tuned in and then adjust the second one. Maybe. So if I put in the inductance of these coils, I think mine is like 5.5 millihenry. total. If I put in the inductance to these coils, I should be able to simulate it with this program too. So let me do that. I'm going to do that before I go to bed because I'm getting kind of tired. Well, maybe we'll stream some games for like an hour before I call it a night. But yeah, I think I'm going to end this mini lab pretty soon. But let's run that simulation real quick before I end this. And if anybody else has any ideas that we can test for tomorrow's Thanksgiving mini lab, we'll do that as well. But I think tomorrow a good start would be to wire up, I'll have to solder together a new potentiometer, the 1 mega ohm, and we'll just solder it together real quick and put it on the second transistor base with that 1k ohm resistor. So we'll do that and see if that helps. I'm really interested to see how we can get a second transistor to work with this coil in the simplest way. I don't need like 1,000 components. Well, it's not simulating anything. I think I'm going to run this through a better simulator tomorrow. I think that's a good idea, because we have some cool simulators that I have access to, some really neat ones. I want to try maybe we'll try the simulator that Shanjax used for his Bedini circuit. And if I have all the parts for his customized Bedini circuit, we might see if I can start to put one together. It's pretty complicated, but it's pretty cool. Actually, I can show you guys that for those who haven't seen it yet, real quick before we end the stream. So the cool thing about this is his design is compatible. Not only is it a battery-free design, it uses capacitors for the Bedini. I believe it's the schoolgirl. Anyways, it also, this simulation, it shows that it's compatible with both sine wave at, I think, 2 kilohertz, and then you can also input a square wave at 4 kilohertz. I believe it's either, it might be backwards on the, but I believe it's 2 kilohertz for the sine wave. But yeah, it's very basic. I believe I have all the components needed. I think I just need to, I think I need to adjust the capacitors. Yeah, I think I just need to adjust the capacitors, and maybe the resistance needs to be adjusted for my inductance for my coil, because that's running at 9 millihenry per coil, and I believe we're at 2.5 or 3, something like that, per coil. Actually, let me change that and see if it still works. Let's see what happens when we change it and lower it. Yeah, so I might have to get in contact with Shanjax or speak with Chat AI about how to adjust this circuit for the inductance of my coil, because it looks like it's bringing down the spike on the waveform a little bit, and we don't want that. We want that nice radiant spike, that H wave, which is what this circuit produces. You can see it at the bottom. This is actually in the Phase 2 guide. If you go to the preliminary guide section, it's somewhere at the top. It's another link to a preliminary guide, and this is literally all the way at the bottom of that guide. You guys can access it there. I will probably post it up on the video live stream tomorrow for you guys in the description. But for now, I'm going to take a break, maybe play some video games before I crash out. Hey everybody, have a good night. Thank you all so much for tuning in. Appreciate your support. If you haven't already, hit the like button and subscribe for more revolutionary content. We will be working more on these circuits tomorrow, so stay tuned right here on Beneficence TV. Oh yeah, and we do have a new live stream, a new podcast coming Saturday with Malcolm Bendel, so we'll have more information on that tomorrow.
In gravity.